All right, welcome everyone to the Late Night Restaurant Show. You know what? Dominic's away today. You know what? He's back milking goats at the International Goat Fair. I think it's in Kentucky is where he's at. But you know what? We wish him all the luck. You know what? Dominic has been a big goat milker. I don't know if you guys all know this. We got t-shirts made up. But you know what? If you Google Dominic Padula and you find his email address, I think you all that watch the show tonight should email Dominic. My camera's going all wonky. Email Dominic and tell him how much you love the fact that he's a professional goat milker. He loves fan mail. He's huge on it. But anyways, I think Dean's listening to us. Dean, welcome. And you know what? Tonight we have a great show. I'm excited. We got royalty on the show tonight, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Dominic's milking goats. I've got a rock star guest on, and you know what? We're going to have a little fun today. And I'm going to do the intro a little bit different than normal, so hold on tight, and we'll be right back without my goat milking co-host. We got a great time here. Anyways, enjoy tonight, folks. Here we go. That's how we roll.
Dude, I'm pumped after the music.
Matt, welcome to our show. Dominic's away. It's not a podcast, by the way. And to everyone watching tonight, we all know it's not a podcast. Some of you know the inside scoop on that. But Matt, welcome to our late night show.
Well, thanks for having me. And let me just say, my co-founder Osa says I do too many podcasts. And so since this isn't a podcast, it doesn't count against my quota.
There you go. You know what's funny? It's we try to be a podcast once in a while, but Dominic always keeps reminding me we're not a podcast, Jay, and don't be a podcast and all this stuff. So, but he's out there milking goats tonight, and we hope him all the best.
Yes,
you ever
we
milk
do.
A goat? Matt, you ever milk a goat?
I can't say I've milked a goat. Milked a cow.
Have you milked a cow?
Come on, I grew up in the Midwest, rural Illinois. I think that was like part of a grade school. They took us to go milk cows.
So you have milked a goat? I mean, a cow.
Yes, I've milked a cow.
I think it's about the same thing. Dominic one day I'll get Dominic to hang out with you. You guys can milk goats and cows.
I'm sure he's got better technique than me. I mean, getting those little goat udders, that's got to be difficult. But, you know, he's a man of great technique.
Well, that leads us into the topic today is all about you. You have to tell me more about ClearCOGS. I read up on you, Googled you, I creeped you a little bit. Have you really reinvented the way that we see the industry, the restaurant industry? Have you helped reinvent it?
I'd like to think we're in the process of reinventing it. You know, yeah, look, I mean, I spent a decade as an owner operator, and you know, the thing that always struck me is how reactive we are. You know, we wait to see who comes through the door, and then it's like we need to prep more. You know, I need to call somebody in. It was always sitting there in a state of stress, reacting to what happens. You know, how can we flip the industry and become proactive? How do we make data-driven decisions ahead of time so that that perfect day when everything goes right is, you know, what happens more often than not, and not the exception?
Now, let's start. Okay, you started your running Jersey Mike's, is that right?
Jimmy John's, close.
Jimmy John's, very close. Yeah. Close thing. Hey, see, Dominic would say, "I told you so." Jay would screw it up. So that's where you would come in. So Jimmy John's, you were there for 7 years, is that right?
Yeah, 7, 8 years.
7, 8 years. And then when did this all start? When did you get the clear vision?
Yeah, so I mean, it was after the fact. After I sold my restaurants, I ended up getting into programming and data analytics. It was just like, man, you mean to tell me this technology exists, and yet I was running all my stores on Excel spreadsheets and guessing.
Serious?
You know,
Serious?
yeah, it blew me away, and I just remember having that moment of, if I can do this, imagine what a good programmer could do. And so I called up my now co-founder Osa and said, like, hey, I think there's an opportunity to make a difference in the restaurant industry. Like, let's take a look at it.
And then that's when it started. So okay, let's go through that. So then you guys met.
Yeah, and it
How
was
did you
really
meet? How did you meet?
I advised him on his first startup, go to market strategy, did some advisory work. This ended up being his third startup. So he comes from that technology startup scene. I come very much from the SMB,
Yep.
running restaurants world. And I often say that if I'd have built the solution that I wanted, it would have failed. And if
Hmm.
OSA built the solution from the technology lens, it would have failed. But when you put us both together and we really like dug into the core issues these restaurants face, we were able to kind of hit that perfect balance of, you know, technology and usability.
So Matt, when you must, yeah, this is gonna be great. I have so many questions. Is you must see so many issues with restaurants today. Like, what's some of those things that restaurants are dealing with? Because
Well,
it's
look, I
different
mean,
today than let's say when you started.
it is. It is. I mean, it all comes down to the three major things, right? I got food costs, I got labor, and I got revenue. I mean, those are the three biggest things. They haven't changed in restaurants ever. I mean, I think what has changed is you're looking at, rising food costs with inflation. You're looking at rising labor costs and new labor laws. I mean, now all of a sudden you've got this price sensitive customer coming through the door that you can't just raise prices on. So, restaurants are left in a tough position where it's how do we operate more efficiently? And it's something that really over the last 30 years, we've all talked about operating more
Mhm.
efficiently, but really haven't. We've just raised prices. And now all of a sudden it's a do or die for restaurants. You either need to figure this out or your competitor is, and you're going to go out of business.
Do you think we have hit the ceiling on those prices?
Boy, I hope so, but I don't know. I mean, who knows? I do know that it's not going back down, right?
No.
It's going to keep moving forward. And if we don't find ways to innovate as an industry and operate more sustainably, like this is not going to last.
No, and I'm assuming those margins are getting thinner and thinner and thinner. There's not much left on the bone, as they say.
Well, it's bifurcated, right? Like, yes,
Yeah.
for a subset of the restaurants, it's just getting thinner and thinner and thinner. And then the guys that have figured it out, are starting to make more and more money. And we're
Serious.
seeing that, yeah, I mean, we're really seeing that, it used to be like, hey, everybody operated between a, 5, 10 to
Yeah.
20% profit margin. Now we're kind of seeing the people that have really adopted technology and are doing it well are able to drive more revenues. They're able to operate more efficiently. They're able to squeeze every penny out of every dollar. And they're bringing in the best staff and creating great experiences. It's not like they're managing downward sales. They're actually providing the experience that, meets what that customer is paying for and growing. And then the people that have, said, hey, we're just going to do it the way we've done it for the last 15 years, they're really just managing downward sales and trying to raise prices and lowering sales even more.
Do you think it's like almost like this great divide then we're seeing?
It's a spectrum. I mean, I don't want to. I
Come
don't
on,
want
let's
to
just make a
index
term
everything
of
of this.
let's make a term that we can all say the great divide.
Great divide. No, I think that post pandemic, the people that figured out how to live in that world and adapt to changing, economic market forces or whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it, like have really done pretty well. I mean, they've survived and they're going to be in the best position to thrive as some of these other restaurants start to go under.
So Len, let's pull in ClearCOGS and tell me, how does your program, what you've created, how's it work? Let's get into the basics. I have no idea about it. How's it work? Who do I call?
So
Where do I start? How's this go? Go through it.
Yes. So, I'll start at the end. At
Okay.
the
Are
end of the
you okay?
day, there's probably 10 or 20 decisions each day that really matter in your business. It's probably things like, who do I need to staff? If I'm the barbecue restaurant, how many briskets do I need to smoke today for tomorrow? I'm the bagel maker. How many everything bagels do I need in plain? Or, for me as a sandwich operator, it's like, it's 2 hours prior to close. Do I need to bake another cycle of bread or do I have enough and I can shut the ovens off? So ultimately, the output of our system is how do we give you an answer to that? You at this store, it's 2 hours prior to close, 17 sticks of bread. That's the ideal amount. Barbecue place, it's 12 briskets today, not 13. Getting those things right, it's small, but
Yeah.
look, it's the extra 20, 40, $50 a day that separates a business from thriving or going out of business.
Is it hard for restaurants to do that? Like the adoption?
Oh, you know what? It depends on how stuck in their ways, but no, it's really not. I mean, most of the time, and this is where I think we kind of try and separate ourselves. We're not trying to reinvent your operation, right? Like, I don't want you to change your operations. You're still going to do brisket the way you've always done brisket. You're just instead of guessing or using, whatever you did last week or yesterday, you're going to use our number. Make it so easy that an operator is, your assistant manager wants to use it because it makes their life easier, not one more thing to do.
Matt, does it help with purchasing? Like making
Yeah,
purchasing decisions?
absolutely. I mean, if I can tell you how many, sticks of bread to have 2 hours prior to close, it just gets easier as we get longer time frames. And not only that, but we can optimize those. So let's say you're ordering something from Cisco, right? It's I can get you the right amount so that you don't run out, but we, make sure that none of that goes to waste. There's like an optimal number in there that's perfect for your business. And that's what we specialize in.
AI driven?
It's all AI driven. I mean, I guess I started at the end. I probably should
Threw that
elaborate how we get there.
It's not a couple monkeys in the back room with typewriters and cigars.
We used to joke. People would be like, "How do you get these so accurate?" Like, I got a secret for you. We got this guy. His name's Jake. He sits in the back room. We just go. We walk in every morning and knock on the door. Jake, store number 755, bins of lettuce for today. Jake always gets it right.
He's pretty good.
He's pretty good.
Well, it's funny
in some ways, the restaurants like Jake better than the idea of some AI Terminator that's looking at their data.
Yeah, I want to get into that because I work with some AI agencies or companies as well, and I said if we could call it something else, it would make sense because the AI thing scares a lot of restaurateurs.
Yeah, we're seeing that shift a little bit. I mean, prior to the whole launch of ChatGPT, we never brought up machine learning or AI because that was a scary thing. I think, the associations kind of changed to, it's the thing can make a brunch menu for me. Like, it's nothing to be too scared of.
Okay, I want to talk a little bit about this because you really make me think more about the purchasing stuff because I find that I always say, who taught chefs and restaurateurs to buy food? Who taught it? Like experience or your mom?
Yeah,
or your parents.
It's the school of hard knocks and instant feedback. It turns out we didn't have enough fish tonight. And there are a lot of unhappy people.
Exactly. No one really taught us how to, buy groceries or buy food, which I have to say to the school world and the universities and stuff, please teach them some stuff there. Because there's lots to learn, right? Like there's lots to learn. And a lot of the times they're purchasing based on buy what's cheap, right?
Yeah, and I'd also say emotion. A lot of this is emotion driven. We all know what happens if we don't order enough. We all know what happens if we order too much. We're all just living by whatever last mistake we made. It's not data driven. It's much more emotional and by feel.
How much profit does it generate more by using your programs? Like, do you have percentages on that? It's going to help more, this much more, or is it all different?
Typically, we generate about 40% in additional profits to the bottom line for the customers we work with. And,
Are you kidding me?
I mean, I have
4-0.
I have
Matt,
gone
4-0.
4-0. I go in. Well, no, I'm sorry. 40% increase. So if you get a 10% profit
Yeah.
margin, we're adding like 4%. But yeah, I mean, I've
It's so
gone into
big.
restaurants. It's crazy. Jay, we went into a restaurant chain run by a bunch of just super sharp guys. And they're like, we don't buy that you can do any better than we're already doing. We've been doing
Yeah.
this for decades. First store in the first month, they saved $6,800. They called their entire staff into the back of the store and basically said, what in the hell happened? Like they're like is somebody bringing product in? Somebody like they could not figure it out. I mean, like, and at the end of the month, they came back and they're just like, you guys have literally added, tens of thousands of dollars in the last month in a single store. It was just crazy.
Wow. Now, does that work with all, like, so if you have one restaurant that has it, let's say they have multiple locations, does it work with all locations, or is it just sync to one, or do you run them separate?
We typically work with larger brands. So,
Okay.
by the nature of, chain restaurants, their data is the same, their operations are the same.
Yeah.
So we build an AI operations management system for them. We're building it out on the brand level. I think one of the things, though, that we're, really sensitive to is a lot of independent restaurants out there need this more than anybody else. And, how can we democratize AI for all restaurants and
Yeah.
provide access to this kind of technology? And we just went live on Toast Marketplace and are working towards it's actually a free product on Toast today. How can we take some of this learnings we've done with these larger brands and be able to make them more available for every restaurant?
Because the independents are going to be really struggling even further, right?
Yeah, they are. But they don't also have a data analyst or somebody at a corporate office that can, work through an onboarding. Like they need something today. They need it fast. They need it simple.
Simple.
They don't want menu mappings. It's like, how can we get something that's a click a button and you've got something that's helpful for you?
Yeah. So is that something you think you'll see in the future?
It's already done. I mean, we rolled it out a couple months ago, and it's
So with Toast?
yeah, we're live on Toast, and something I actually pulled from Sean over at Cali Barbecue. Taking people on a journey. We're in the first innings of AI. There's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of changes. It's going to be a fast pace of adoption. How can we bring operators along with us? Expose them to generative AI images, expose them to predictive forecasting, keep them along with us so that, they're staying up to date with these, technology trends and seeing it firsthand and not waking up 5 years from now and going, what the hell happened?
That's the one thing that I noticed. Like I've been working with a lot of AI companies right now up here in Canada on what can we plug into the restaurants that we're coaching to really determine what the, where the holes are, let's say in the boat. The one thing I said to them, I said, guys, like I think it's brilliant. We can look at 1 billion data points. And we said the only hurdle is the behavioral change of the operator on changing those things. How do you get through that?
Yeah, I mean, I've always said it's not a technological barrier, it's not a capabilities barrier when it comes to technology in the restaurant industry. It's an implementation or change management barrier. And
Mhm.
so, the trouble isn't how do you get 1 billion data points and analyze them? It's how do you get it down to one data point that the assistant manager can take when they're understaffed and like, the kitchen's on fire and he can actually use. Like
Yeah.
that's the hard part.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want, because when you add in, like, let's say you show them 20 things, we know they're only going to do one thing if they do the one thing.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
if you can get it down to the one thing, they tend to do it. I mean, it's
Well, if you're showing return too, like you're saying, that's also going to be the carrot, right?
I'd like to think so, but it's really not. It's at the end of the
Really?
day, stressed out assistant manager or whoever it is, right? Like they're just trying to survive the ship. You've got to make it easier for them to use it than not use it. And if you can make it easier to use than not use, they're going to.
So, Matt, I want to shift a little bit here as we discuss this because this is wild. Thank you. Like, I want to talk more about you. I want to learn more about Matt. I want to put more of a face to your brand and to what you guys do. What did Did you ever think you'd be here, like in this role, right? I'm CEO of ClearCOGS.
Never in a million years. And in fact, I pinch
Did you,
myself to this
did you want
day.
to play guitar? Like, were you?
Oh yeah, I that I could get behind. If this doesn't work out, I'm going to be on an island somewhere. Being a you know
In the
half-assed version of
lounge?
Jimmy Buffett.
Was this your plan? What was your plan?
I didn't have one. This
No.
was one of those. No, I can't help but take action. So like, it's funny. I started programming. Like I've
Yeah.
always loved restaurants that come from the industry. It's like, how can I not go solve this? How does somebody else not solve this? Right? Like I felt compelled to do it. It was like a compulsion. And I wake up today and Jay, I kid you not, I'm the most underqualified person in my company. Like I sit around and listen to people talk and go, these people are insanely smart. I have no standing at this table. I don't know why anybody's listening to me.
Wow. How does that feel though, as a leader in your company? Like that's really, because Steve Jobs says the same thing. Hire smarter, or did hire smarter people than yourself.
I mean, I think this is something that most restaurant people would understand. I mean, we're in the business of building teams. We're in the people business, people managing people, serving people, right? Like my job was always to write myself out of a job in the restaurant, open up another one. I needed a general manager to fill my role. I needed an area manager to fill my role, right? Like which boggled my mind is how few technology companies see that as their mission. So, we collect great people. We
Mhm.
empower those people, and we try and get out of those people's way and let them get the job done.
Wow. ClearCOGS in Canada?
Yeah, we are. One of 5 countries at this point.
Really?
Right?
5
Nice thing
countries.
about data. Data is just data. I don't care where it comes from. Be from Tokyo. It's just the AI is just running your numbers.
Wow. It must be pretty cool to see it all just ballooning and getting bigger and bigger. How many restaurants are you guys tied to now?
Like 70 brands. So we do all
70
my
brands?
Yeah, and then that's just on the enterprise side. On the independent side, since we've launched on the Toast Marketplace, I think we're at like 200, 300 that we've added in the last couple of months, and looking to target 2,000 in the next 12. So yeah, it's moving fast.
Well, we've got about 78,000 in Canada, so we could use you up here more and more.
We'd love to be out there. But your question of what's it like? Look, I pinch myself when we go talk with restaurants. I'm always surprised. I always get on. It's like, are they gonna be mad? Is it not working?
Yeah. What's it like?
And they're almost always like, yeah, your numbers are scary accurate. It's like, really? Like, it's still working? Like, it's like, again, like we've way exceeded my capacity to be a programmer, data scientist. So, it's just always, it's a wonderful experience getting to see our team do a great job, and more importantly, I stress out about it. Like I know what it's like to run out of bread. You know what it's like to be on the other side. It's like, guys, if we give them a bad number, it's a really bad day for them.
Well, nothing is worse. As we always say, people don't order it to look at it.
No. No, exactly.
Right? That was our saying back in the day, right? And I just remember those days, man. Like, and there was no one that predicted anything. You did it by your gut feeling. You looked out the window, it's raining. It's a hot day, right? Nothing.
Yeah.
We didn't have any plans or anything.
No forecast. We talk with venture capitalists all the time. We're raising a seed round right now, and like it's like, no, these guys just guessed. Like we don't believe that. It's like, no, they just guess. Like I did this for like 8 years. Like we stood out, put our head out the door every day. It's like the bars look dead today, but it looks like it's a nice night. Maybe we should throw another half cycle.
Man, it's funny. I got to tell you this. People are watching this, but I know a large, massive chain. I'm not going to say where or who it is. So don't get me in shit. But we were working with them. I was helping them. This is let's say 7 years ago. Massive change, like huge in Canada, huge, and not a QSR. So I'm gonna maybe a little narrow that down. Anyways, I'm sitting there and we had 2 days with them. We showed them, I don't know, 50 some dishes of different ideas, working with them, all this stuff. And then my one gentleman that I'm working with, he says, can I ask them like what systems and what cool tools they use to figure out the cost, and should they, price the product this way? I said, sure. I'd like to know what they're using, like what cool technology, right?
Please tell me they said it's Jake. He sits in the back room. He just guesses.
No, it was worse than that. He goes, right here on this napkin. I'm not joking. I about fell over and went, no way. Because, yeah, we just use a napkin. We write it out and go, yeah, that's about right. I'm like,
Jay,
seriously?
I'm curious, right? You talk with a lot of great minds in the restaurant industry. I certainly talk to a lot of people about AI. I'm curious your take on how AI is going to come into this industry, where it's going to be useful. What's the future hold?
So, great question. I love when people ask me questions. I love that. So I've been in AI for a couple of years now, right? I adopted it as soon as it came in. And I think the big thing is understanding AI. Well, first of all, I guess a couple of things. I want to back up on the AI side here a little bit too, is so being a creative mind guy like I am, like creative guy, innovator, entrepreneurial mindset, always going. When you get into the challenges is I always wanted to write a book, or I always wanted to create a document or whatever it is. The challenge for me to take the idea into a text format, write out or write a book, is like a different language. Like it's almost impossible. AI comes into my world and goes, no, we can now take your ideas, Jay, and put that into a text format or into an article or book. It opens the world for us innovators and people with ADHD and different learning abilities, let's say.
You're not dyslexic, are you?
Oh, yeah. Dyslexic.
Oh, yeah. ADHD and dyslexic right here. Yeah. You're literally like, that's exactly how I reacted to the whole ChatGPT thing. Was that exact sentence you said.
Shit.
Yeah.
I can write a book.
Totally.
It's like I can finally get what's in here out now. So when I look at that from a restaurant world, and I believe the restaurant world was the article, or was the class in the business school that said what not to do in a business world is take the, how not to run a restaurant or don't run a restaurant. And I find the restaurateurs, like you said earlier, they kind of learn through the hard grit of that. And most of them didn't go to business school. Like 99% didn't go to business school. So when I think of where AI comes into the field to be able to help the operators succeed further in what they're doing, because they've got probably it up here as well, because a lot of them have that same ability. They work hard. They know the right food. They can create great food. But when it comes to business, it also becomes like a Scrabble in their head, like it is for me. So when I see AI today and where it's going, I think one AI like yourselves, so I'm excited about having you on the show today, will save the restaurant industry as we know it. We'll save it because we're at the end, I believe, of the ability after 150 years, let's say, of the traditional format of dining out, food, pay, revenue, all those things. Let's say 150 years, with a horse maybe, because I did a lot of history back in the day for our industry. I think that model will only move forward by using intelligence that are smarter than we are and the ability to look for those holes before they appear in the boat. I think it will save the industry. I think we have to, I put the post out the other day because I was looking at Facebook AI and what Meta's doing, Meta AI. And I said, we have to learn, lean in, and leverage AI. And I really think that's going to be the key for us adopting it more into our world. If you don't learn about it, you resist it, no different than people resisted the internet at the beginning. Who's going to use this Google thing? like let's use AOL. Let's keep it the like no one. I think the adoption phase, like you said earlier, we're still there. I think more and more people are understanding it more. It's becoming more clear of what it is. But I think it will save the industry. I think robotics will as well. I think for some weird reason, I don't want to say this, COVID happened for a reason. Absolutely, it was horrific for our industry, but it really allowed us. It was like when Disney was created after World War II, right? Like these amazing things come out of these ugly disasters. And I think what's going to come out of this is the robotics, the AI, understanding that we have to do our business differently as we move forward, using programs like yourself. I've been in the industry 34 years. I have seen high and low of what it is out there. I've worked with thousands of restaurants. I think we're at the end of looking at, it's also like the P&L. I don't know if you ever saw my show I did on rewriting the P&L and also creating a dollar store franchise for fast food. Did you ever see that? I don't know if you saw that.
I have not.
Okay, so it's called Foodorama, I think it was called. So we took the dollar store mentality and said, I bet you I can create a franchise using the dollar store mentality of $1 to $2 items, but looking at new ways to generate profits for the restaurants. Because we're looking at today primarily 2 or 3 profit revenues streams, where I even look at like DoorDash and Uber Eats. I don't look at that as a primary profit generator. I look at it as your marketing channel that you can actually record now your ROI and your marketing activities. I use that as your marketing channel. I don't use that as a profit generator, right? So because people complain about it, I'm like, it's brilliant marketing if you think about it through a marketing lens. So I look at those kind of things differently as the industry. I look at AI differently. I think it's brilliant. I think what you guys do is even more brilliant. I think we need more and more restaurants to sit down, learn about what you do, lean into it, leverage it for their business, because I don't think we can survive another 50 years by generating 1% to 2% profits in our business anymore. We're at the crossroads, I would say. We're at that point that you can't do that anymore. We know labor, like it's not physical unless we're using systems like yourself to sit there and say, we're going to scratch, we're going to work this harder and stuff. You can't. We've squeezed, I think, the sponge dry enough. We have to look at other things out there to help our businesses.
And I think you might be saying this, but I've got.
Is that my long rant?
No, I like your rant.
Dominic would have said, "Shut up" by now.
That's why it was what Dominic's out milking goats. Like he's fine. No, the only thing I would take, stand against, right, or stand up to, like, is I don't think it's incumbent on the restaurants to go learn AI. I think that in large part we've had legacy tech providers that have made restaurants go out and figure out tools. I think it really is on restaurant technology companies to go learn this technology and make it so that restaurants, it's easier to use for restaurants than to not use.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think my statement, like, learn, would be just read about it. Like watch Netflix. There's was the Killer Robots show on Netflix, right? Like, just learn about the abilities. And then I always say, put your hat on of your restaurant when you're watching these things and just learn, because it doesn't become scary when you understand it a little bit more. But you don't need to learn the AI.
I like to think that the best use cases or the best implementations of AI are the implementations that the customer and the employees don't even know AI is involved.
Yeah.
But, I do think overall what you're saying, it actually echoes something that I say all the time. And that is, look, customers come to restaurants for the experience, right? They come for that magic, those magic moments. And, AI is never going to be able to create the magic. But, most people don't get in restaurants because they want to review P&Ls or do, inventory analytics or come up with A/B testing strategies for marketing campaigns, right? Like that's not why you get into hospitality. But that's the stuff that AI is really good at: managing the metrics, managing the analytics. Like, AI can do all of that. And allow all of the actual operators out there to focus on what really the customer comes for, and that is those magic moments, engaging with your customers, your employees, training, creating
Yeah,
that magic. And yeah, I mean, I think if we can get AI to be doing all the stuff we don't want to do, and which it's already good at, and let us spend more time on the hospitality, it's going to be a better industry overall.
I love that, Matt. Matt, can I ask you a question? Because I was going to write this article the other day.
No questions
I have
on
a
this.
question
Not a
for you.
podcast.
It's not a podcast, by the way. Is that I always like this. I like stretching the mind. So it's one of the things I think that like I always do, and I write articles about. I think I did a article last year. What if Led Zeppelin had a restaurant? What would it look like? Right. And so don't have to answer that. But the question I have, because I want you to think, because I think you've got that same kind of visionary or way that you think is very interesting for me. What would the world be like if we didn't have restaurants? We had a little taste of it through COVID, but what would it look like if it didn't exist? It didn't exist. We all just ate by cooking at home. What would it look like? I did this the other day. I actually asked AI what the world would look like. And it said we'd be healthier for some weird reason. It'd probably be
Depends
boring.
what the grocery stores are serving.
Get
Might be
cheap,
a lot of frozen dinners. It's real hard to say.
right?
All right, I like this thought experiment. This is fun. All right, I imagine that
Okay.
the world would look a lot more social. So I would.
Do you
be
think more
much
social?
More social for sure. So I don't want to cook every day, right? So I imagine that the idea of Sunday dinners, right? Let's
Remember those?
back up 70 years ago, 1950s. Eating out was a luxury, right? You weren't eating out for lunch every day or doing but you were doing family dinners every Saturday. You were doing grill outs across the neighborhood on, Friday nights. You were doing, I could see a world in which if we weren't doing restaurants, we'd substitute it with other social gatherings, and maybe it's at your house, maybe it's the the old potluck in the cul-de-sac, that kind of thing.
So ask you that then. So that's brilliant, by the way. I love that. Why do we crave restaurants then so much through COVID? When we had COVID kind of pull that away from us, where we all were like, no, we need it back. And then we put up plastic, petitions and stuff in restaurants and said, okay, thank God we can get in here. What would what causes that for that demand?
I think of restaurants as an escape, a pause in time, a place where you can, leave the real world behind and go in and experience something new. And, I have to imagine that if you're stuck in your house living in reality, like the thing you'd be craving the most is, how do I get to go escape, and pause this for a moment?
I love that. You ever sleep in a booth as a kid?
No, but I'll tell you what. I used to sleep in the back of my store.
Serious?
Oh my gosh, yeah! You roll up a couple old aprons, it makes a decent pillow.
I love those days, man. Why I say that, I just remember when I was a kid, when you were saying those things, I was remembering myself as a kid sleeping on the booths as my parents wore that because it was special occasions, right? Like we dined out for those special occasions. It wasn't like it is today as a part of our cultural, mentality or what we do every day. But I find it interesting. I always want to know what the industry would look like, because how many people employs, what would we be doing instead of going out and having a great time in a restaurant and enjoying ourselves? Like you said, pulling away from reality.
I think the more interesting one is, what would the industry look like if we hadn't kept wages artificially low for the last, 20 or 30 years? Because, we built a whole lot of restaurant concepts on the idea of low wages, and that's all reversing right now. It's an interesting time.
Well, it is that I find that very fascinating as well. Is that in Canada here? So it's really weird. Here, do you want me to give you this? I'll give everyone this.
Hit me.
You guys have low wages. We have low but higher than you. Okay, but you guys, as we say in Canada, and this is straight across Canada, we believe that you guys take serving and take the industry more professional. That we don't grill me here, Canadians, is that you take it serving very professional, right? Like you guys have more professional waiters and waitresses in that sense than we do in Canada. Like when I was in Chicago, I'm taking pictures of my waiter because he's incredible. I'm like, holy, who's this? This isn't crazy. Everyone else is like, yeah, this is normal. I mean,
if you get your healthcare taken care of and all that kind of stuff, you're a little less
the nose compared to taxes. Where is Dominic? He loves this stuff. He
milking
loves
cows or milking goats. Yeah.
So,
making some goat cheese.
But I find that interesting as you say that, is that I hope it doesn't do what we have here in Canada, where it has changed the profession. And you guys are incredible on what you do down there as the profession of this industry. We do in Canada a very good job. Don't get me wrong. We have our places. But that is the word we always hear at the time is, oh, I went to Florida for a trip. Man, the service there is incredible. Well, they pay less, but they take it as a profession. That is the common, I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but that is the common thing that us Canadians always say about you guys. And I don't agree or disagree with it, but that's the statement I hear nonstop.
Jay, I don't think that's the world we're marching to. I know that that's how everybody, wants to make that sound. But
yeah.
I mean, if you look at the trend of like, hey, we're going to have AI in place doing the analytics and, some of the decision management, maybe we're bringing robotics to do some of the back of the house. I mean, if fundamentally the job of the restaurant is to create experiences, create those magical moments, right? The most important job becomes who's running your cash register, who is your, waiter. I mean, I think almost that becomes the pivotal job of, really connecting with the guest.
Yeah. It really gets them focused on it, eh? Like it really gets rid of that stuff that drives us crazy.
I mean, I hope that's how it ends up. We'll probably be left with like ordering it from a kiosk at a, fine dining establishment.
One day we'll probably go back. We'll be like 90 years old. Jay, do you remember when?
I hope when we go back, we're looking at it like with our Jetsons thing that's like printing like, a Michelin star meal for us.
I was going to say the Jetsons were pretty close, man. I hate to say it. They were pretty close. Well, Matt, okay, where do people learn about ClearCOGS?
All right. So if you're on Toast, you get on the marketplace. First company up there in the top left corner, enable ClearCOGS, get yourself some free reports. If you're a non-Toast customer, come over to the website, book a call. We'd love to talk with you. Even if you're, unsure if you're a fit or not. I mean, we love restaurants. You might be. We'd love talking with you. Otherwise, follow us on all social media, LinkedIn, Instagram.
You're everywhere.
Follow like me. Follow the company. Yeah, right on. Notorious.
You play guitar too?
Oh yeah, piano, double bass.
Make
my own maple syrup, woodworking. I do a bunch of bizarre things.
You make maple syrup too? Like we didn't talk about your maple syrup.
Oh, you're a Canadian. Yes, I tap my own maple trees.
Shut up.
Oh yeah. I'm an honorary Canadian. I grew up playing hockey. I make maple syrup.
I know, dude.
I am Canadian's restaurant guy.
So
it'll be trademarked tomorrow.
So, Matt, I want to thank you for the time. Everyone else that joined us, Matt, I want to thank them. Dominic, you missed another one. Milk and goats, buddy. But Matt, thanks again. Incredible program. I want to thank you. You're awesome, man. You're totally what I thought you were like. I've heard so many amazing things by you, and I just thank you for helping our industry. You really are incredible.
Jay, you're the man. Thanks for having me on. Dominic, keep milking those goats.
And to everyone else, check us out. Tomorrow night, we're back again. And it's not a podcast. Not at all. Matt, it's not a podcast. Don't think it's a podcast. Don't say it was on Jay's podcast. No, it's a show. And but we do hang out with all the other podcasts. So
this is not a podcast.
It's not a podcast. Nope. Don't dare. Anyways, thanks again, Matt. Everyone else, have a great evening. Cheers.